Good evening, everyone. Welcome to lecture 11 on animal kingdom. So, till now, we have studied about various non chordates and we have started with the chordates. In chordates, also, we learned about urochordates. We have learned about prochordates like we have learned about protochordates. And now we are heading towards the vertebrates. So in vertebrates, we have already covered the superclass spices that includes the fish and amphibia. Now we will cover the remaining topics that includes reptilia, aves, and mammals. So with these topics, we will end with the topic animal kingdom. So starting basis of classification. Again, today we are going to study about the animals that have organ system level of organization that are bilateral. We have already learned about the basic characteristics of chordates that includes the presence of a notochord, which is a rod-like structure. It's a rod-like structure which is present in the. So it is a rod-like structure which is present in the chordates. The second is a dorsal tubular nerve cord, which is unlike the non-chordates in which it is ventral and solid in non-chordates. But in chordates, it is dorsal and tubular, which is hollow. Right? The next is the pharyngeal pouches, which is sometimes modified into the form of gill slits or in some. So we know that in at least one of the life stages in the chordate life cycle. So we learned about the division of the phylum Chordata. So phylum Chordata is divided into three subphylums: phylum Urochordata, phylum Cephalochordata, subphylum Vertebrata. Urochordata and Cephalochordata are together called as protochordates. Cephalochordata has notochord present throughout the life. And in this urochordates, notochord is present only in the larval stage. Larva. In adults, notochord is absent, right? So this we have already learned. Then we started with the subphylum Vertebrata. So what is the main characteristic of subphylum Vertebrata in this? The notochord is replaced or is modified into by the presence of vertebral column, right? Fine. So in vertebrates, the notochord is replaced by the presence of a structure which is the vertebral column, and this subphylum Vertebrata divided into two sections. It is the presence or the absence of the jaws. The subphylum Vertebrata is divided into the two sections, section Agenatha and section Gnathostomata. Then section Agenatha that lacks the jaws consists of the class Cyclostomata. And this section Gnathostomata was further subdivided into two superclasses. The first is the superclass Spices that includes the fish, and the second is the superclass Tetrapoda that have the limbs. So superclass tetrapods have the limbs. The superclass Spices is further divided into two classes. The class Chondrichthyes that consist of cartilaginous fish, and class Osteichthyes that consist of bony fish, that is, whose endoskeleton is made up of bones. So this is the classification of the superclass Spices. Now, in superclass tetrapods, that is the organisms that have the limbs, We have amphibia, reptilia, aves, and mammalia. We have already learned about amphibia. Amphibians are the ones that can live on land as well as in water. Usually, they require water for the process of reproduction and fertilization. Reproduction and fertilization usually happens in the water. In today's lecture, now we will learn about reptilia, aves, and mammalia. What are the basic important features of these classes that comes under the superclass Tetrapoda? So, firstly, we will start with the class Reptilia. So, the reptiles or the Reptilia are a very successful group of terrestrial animals. They are the first completely terrestrial animals. They are the first complete terrestrial animals, right? So they are the first complete terrestrial animals. Why they are called as reptilia? Because the term reptilia means crawling. And the reptiles are the ones that crawls. So their body is divided, their complete body is divided into three parts: head, trunk, and tail. Reptiles have these characteristics showing that they are fully adapted to life on land. So what are these characteristics? Firstly, they have paired limbs. So unlike the class amphibia or the class like in class amphibia, the limbs are present, but in unlike the class Pisces, they have paired limbs. So two pairs of limbs. Usually they have five toes. Reptiles are adapted for climbing, running, paddling, and flying. So they have usually two pairs of limbs that have five toes. So such the first limb that is near to the anterior of the body is known as the forelimb, and the one which is present to the posterior is known as the hind limb. Skin, the skin is thick and dry. It is impermeable to water. Therefore, it prevents the water loss from the body. In reptiles, the skin is wholly or in part scaly. So usually, it is the skin is hard and scaly. So many reptiles, example snakes and lizards, molt several times a year their skin. Next modification is that efficient breathing. So the lungs are more developed than in amphibians. Also in many reptiles, an expandable rib cage assists in the breathing. So they can expand their rib cage, facilitating the efficient breathing. Right? So there these characteristics and many more that we are going to learn helps the reptiles to adapt to the life on the land. So this is the basic anatomy in which they have a well-developed nostril, and they have a well-developed alimentary canal that consists of tongue, esophagus, then they have stomach, they have and their opening is known as the cloaca. So they have a cloaca which is the opening, and the waste is secreted out through the anus. Right? They have liver, they have intestine, so they have a well-developed alimentary canal. They have a well-developed respiratory system. They have claws, as I mentioned, that have nails also. So you can see here that they have nails. So they have five toes, and these initial limbs are known as the forelimbs. And these limbs are known as the hind limbs. Also, you can clearly see the scales which are present on the face of the body. So, known as of the anatomy of an alligator mississippians. Then they have an efficient excretory system. So, kidneys are well developed. Kidneys excrete uric acid, requiring less water to rid the nitrogenous waste. So, usually, because they are terrestrial, they try to, therefore, they secrete the uric acid, which is a more concentrated form and helps in maintaining the water requirement. The next important property is ectothermy. So most reptiles are ectotherms, allowing them to survive on a fraction of the food per body weight required by birds and the animals. So ectothermic reptiles are adapted behaviorally to maintain a warm body temperature by warming themselves in the sun. So they can maintain their body temperature by their behavioral habit. For example, they can maintain their body temperature by warming themselves in the sun. Alimentary canal, as I've showed you, a complete alimentary canal is found in these animals, which opens into an opening which is called as a cloaca. Their nervous system is brain. The brain is well developed, and they have 12 pairs of cranial nerves. So this is important. Like they have 12 pairs of cranial nerves. They do not have any external ear opening, so external ear opening is absent. Tympanum represents the ear. So ear is represented by a very short structure which is called as the tympanum, and tympanum is not represents an exception to the ear openings that do not have tympanum. That is, they do not hear. Lateral line system is absent in these animals, and at the roof, a very important structure which is the Jacobson organ. So this Jacobson organ is present. Jacobson's organ is present. This is an olfactory organ. Olfactory organ. Olfactory means it provides the sense of smell. Right? So at the roof of the buccal cavity, you can see here, this is the tongue, which is represented here. This is the brain. So at the roof of the buccal cavity, an olfactory organ, which is the Jacobson's organ, is present. So this olfactory organ provides a sense of smell. Then it is the efficient circulation. So till now, we see that amphibians have the 3-chambered heart. Before that, we have 2-chambered heart. So the heart prevents the mixing of the blood. A septum divides the ventricle either partially or completely. So if there is a partial separation, so when there is a partial separation, there is slight mixing of the blood, because still there will be some opening, slight mixing of the blood. But when there is a complete separation, so the oxygenated blood remains separated from the deoxygenated blood. So the septum is complete, oxygen poor blood, that is the deoxygenated blood, is completely separated from the oxygen rich blood. So you can see here, if I erase these points, just a second. Right? So you can see here that in the fish, where I mentioned that it consists of a single ventricle and single atrium. So the blood flows directly like this. So there is a complete mixing. While in amphibians and most of the reptiles, there is a right atrium, there is a left atrium, and then there is a right atrium, there is a left atrium, and then they have a single ventricle. So there is a slight mixing. But in this, you can see in some of the reptiles and in birds and mammals, it is a double circulation, and the deoxygenated blood comes from the right atrium, to the right ventricle, and it goes through the lungs, and then the oxygenated blood comes into the left side of the heart, which is pumped to all over the body through the left ventricle. So in the A figure, where it is shown for the fish, there is a single loop pathway of fish which has a 2-chambered heart. In the B, there is a double loop. You can see here. So it is a double loop in which basically what happens is the double loop pathway of other vertebrates like amphibians and reptiles send bloods to the lungs and the body. So in amphibians and most of the reptiles, there is a limited mixing of oxygen rich and oxygen poor blood in the single ventricle. So they have a single. So in this case, you can see here that there is a single ventricle, and in the single ventricle, there is a slight mixing of the blood that can happen. So it is a 3-chambered heart. but it is a double circulation. There is double loop pathway, right? So it is a three-chambered heart which is present in most of the reptiles and in amphibians. While in some reptiles, for example, crocodiles, and in birds and mammals, there is a four-chambered heart. So in the four-chambered heart, there is no mixing of the oxygen-poor and oxygen-rich blood. Therefore, oxygenated blood is separated completely from the deoxygenated blood, right? It is also a double circulation in which the blood on the right hand side of the heart is oxygenated, which is then goes to the left portion of the heart, which is then supplied to the other body parts. So therefore, there is no mixing of the blood that happens. The next thing is the well-adapted reproduction. So in the reptiles, sexes are separate. That is, the male and female are different. Fertilization is internal. So there is an internal fertilization. What is the advantage of internal fertilization? So internal fertilization prevents the sperm from drying out when copulation occurs. So since they live on the land, therefore when they release the sperm, in case it may dry out if it is released in the outside environment. Therefore, internal fertilization prevents the sperm from drying out when the copulation happens. And eggs are megalethal. So these animals are oviparous. That is, they release the eggs. They do not give birth to the young ones, they release the eggs. So what is the meaning of megalethal? So mega means large. Lecythal means yolk. So they have a large amount of yolk and their egg is cleoidic. That is, it is composed of the membranes, and eggs of the snakes are leathery in nature. So it is membranous egg. So what are the membranes? So they have the amniotic egg contains extra embryonic membranes which protect the embryo, remove the nitrogenous waste, and provide the embryo with the oxygen, food, and water. So what is the function of these embryonic membranes? These embryonic membranes help in protection, removal of waste, plus supply nutrients. Right? These membranes are not the part of the embryo, and therefore when the development happens, so once after the development, they are disposed of. One of the membranes, the amnion membrane, is a sac that fills with the fluid and provides a private pond within which the embryo develops. So this is a fluid-filled membrane. This is the amnion membrane, which is filled with the fluid inside which the embryo resides. So this is the embryo. Development is direct. So what do we mean by direct development? That the larval stage is absent. Parental care can be seen in the animals of this class. So what are the examples? You need to remember the scientific name as well as the common name of these. So these are the examples which are mentioned in the NCERT. So some examples include Chilon, which is the turtle, testudo, tortoise, chameleon, tree lizard, calots, garden lizard, crocodilus, crocodile, alligator, alligator. Hemidactylus is a wall lizard. Naza is cobra. Bangerus is the crate. Vipera is the snake. So these are some of the snakes, and other are the lizard, for example, chameleon or the Hemidactylus, which is a wall lizard, etc. So these are some of the examples that are mentioned in the NCERT regarding the class reptiles, right? So, however, for example, it might be asked that some of these snakes are poisonous and some of these snakes are non-poisonous. For example, if I give you some of the examples of the snake, like snakes can be poisonous or they can be non-poisonous, right? So this might be asked, for example, which of the following snakes are poisonous? So I'll give you some of the examples. Example includes the Naza. So Naza, which is the cobra, is a poisonous snake. Then we have viper, which is also a poisonous snake, right? And pancreate, which is the bangerous. So three are these three are poisonous, right? Now there are some non-poisonous snakes also. For example, ajgar, if you might have heard. Python is the scientific name, python or ajgar. Then we have rattlesnake or rat snake. Then we have eryx. If you might have heard about domohi eryx. Right? So these are non-poisonous. So this might be asked in the exam that which of the following is a non-poisonous snake or which of the following is a poisonous snake. So with this, we end with the class Reptilia. The most important characteristic of this class of the animal is firstly Jacobson's organ, which is an olfactory organ. Secondly, they are well adapted for the terrestrial lifestyle. They have paired limbs. They have skin which is thick and dry that prevents which is impermeable and thus preventing the dehydration. They have efficient breathing as well as they have a well efficient circulatory and excretory system. The next, the study of one thing I forgot to mention is that the study of reptiles is known as the herpetology. Right? The next is class Aves. So Dr. Salim Ali, it is related. Class Aves includes birds. So Dr. Salim Ali was a great ornithologist in India and is regarded as a birdman of India. So he's regarded as the birdman of India. The study of birds is called as the ornithology. Birds are also known as feathered bipeds or glorified reptiles. They have certain characteristics which are well adapted and for the flight, and there are certain characteristics that resembles well with the reptiles. So the characteristic feature of the birds are the presence of feathers all over the body, and most of them can fly except there are some flightless birds. Feathers keep their body warm and also make their body weight light, therefore help them in flying. Feathers are the modification of epidermal scales which are present in the reptiles. So this is an important feature. So feathers are the modification of epidermal scales. You need to remember this. This is the characteristic that helps them in relating with the class reptile. That is, they have the modifications of the epidermal scales which are known as the feathers. Now, what is the function of feather? Firstly, it prevents a protection. So they protect the underlying soft skin from mechanical, chemical, pathological or ecological injuries. Then they help in the heat retention, which is a very important feature of the feathers. The birds have a consistent body temperature level. The feathers serve the most essential function of heat retention, therefore preventing the heat loss. Right? Protective coloration. So feathers of various birds have rather characteristic protective coloration. That is, they have the pigmentation of their surroundings, therefore making them indistinguishable from their surrounding environment and thus preventing them from their opponents. Then sexual dimorphism. So dimorphism means ability to distinguish male and female. So they provide protective pigmentation and also the sexual display. For example, we know about the peacock and peahen. Right? So you can see the presence or the absence of those plumules which are present, like the long feathers which are present in the peacock is absent in the peahen, therefore providing a sexual dimorphism. So birds are warm-blooded. That is, they are homeothermic. They can maintain their body temperature. So their body temperature is constant, which remains almost constant. Body is boat-shaped. Usually it is like this. That helps in flying. So this is also an adaptation, you can say, towards flying. It is divided into head, neck, trunk, and then tail. So they have a neck. Right? So unlike reptiles in which the neck is absent, the body was divided into head, trunk, and tail. Here the body is divided into head, neck, trunk, and tail. Neck is long and flexible. Skeletal system. Endoskeleton is fully ossified. It is bony. And the long bones are hollow. So they are called as pneumatic bones. So feathers, presence of feathers, presence of pneumatic bones. because they are light in weight, no? Because they are hollow. They are light in weight. Are some of the adaptations to the flying. Pneumatic bones make the body, sorry. So the hollow bones are called as the pneumatic bones, and pneumatic bones make the body light in weight and help in flying. Skin is dry and without glands, but oil glands are present. These are known as the preen glands. So these secrete some oil, and they are found on the tail or on the uropygium. These glands secretes the oil that lubricates the feather, and the process is known as the preening. So lubrication of feathers helps the bird in avoiding the friction, and therefore the process is known as the preening, and the oil glands or the preen glands secrete the oil that helps in the lubrication. So most of the birds, as I mentioned, can fly, except some flightless birds, like for example, ostrich, we know, kiwi, and penguin. So ostrich, kiwi, penguin are some examples of the birds that are flightless. This might be asked. Forelimbs are with 3 digits modified into the wings, which help in flying and in conserving the heat. So, forelimbs modified into the wings. Hind limbs with 4 clawed digits. You can see here they are 4 clawed. Scales are found only in the hind limbs. So, the scales are found on the hind limbs. Hind limbs are best adapted for sitting, walking, perching, and swimming. That is, if they want to stay on the tree, if they want to swim, walk, sit, like for example, if you might have seen the ducks, so in ducks they have webbed feet. That is, their feet are joined. So it helps them in swimming also. So the hind limbs are modified for sitting, walking, perching, or swimming. Now digestive system. So additional chambers are present in these. That is the crop and the gizzard. So these helps in the grinding and storage of food. Grinding of food. Then they have esophagus. This is the crop. Then they have esophagus, crop region. They have proventriculus region, gizzard, where the food is then stored. Then they have gallbladder, liver, pancreas that secretes enzymes, small intestine. Then they have duodenal loop, ceca, and the opening is the cloaca. Fine. So gizzard, esophagus is modified into crop for quick food ingestion and storage. Gizzard is used for crushing the food which is swallowed unmasticated. So when the food is swallowed without the unmastication means without chewing, then it is crushed in the gizzard. So pigeon or crop milk is secreted in the both sexes. This is important. A 3-chambered cloaca is present. Teeth are absent. Beak is present. So beak is present, help in catching the food. Catching the food. Right? So this beak helps in catching the food. Function of crop is to grind the food. Sorry, the function of gizzard is to crush the food. Sorry. The function of gizzard is to crush the food. Function of crop is to store the food. Right? So this is the digestive system. It is a complete digestive system. Additional chambers like crop and gizzard are present. Teeth are absent and 3-chambered cloaca is present. So you need to remember this, that cloaca is the opening. So this is a 3-chambered cloaca which is present, which is the opening outside the body. Then the respiratory system. So they have a spongy lungs that is also helps in the better respiration during the time of flight. So they have a spongy lung. Lungs are spongy. Air sacs are also found. These air sacs are present in the lungs. So they have air sac, which is the cavity. Air sac connected to the lung supplement the respiration. These air sacs, you can see here, there are examples like anterior thoracic air sac, posterior thoracic air sac. These help in, these supplement the respiration. Abdominal air sac, etc. are present. Syrinx, which is a sound producing organ, is present at the junction of trachea and the bronchi. So you can see here. So this is the trachea. This is the bronchus. So at the junction of the trachea and bronchus, structure called the syrinx is present. This is a sound producing organ. So syrinx is a sound producing organ. So trachea is the windpipe. Trachea is the windpipe that further leads to the bronchus, and these bronchus enters into the lungs. So these lungs are spongy, so which are supplemented with the various air sacs like interclavicular air sac, which is the air sac in cavity of interclavicular air sac. Then we have air sac in cavity of humerus, which is the bone. Then we have anterior thoracic air sac and posterior thoracic air sac. So there are various air sacs that are present. These air sac helps in the respiration. Therefore, they supplement the respiration. Right? So this is the respiratory system. The most important thing is syrinx, which is the sound box, which is present in the at the junction of the trachea and bronchi. Now, circulatory system, as I have already shown, it is a four-chambered circulatory system. So the heart is four-chambered, and the heart is four-chambered. It has right atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. Then this is connected to the lungs. Then it enters into the left ventricle. This through from left atrium. From here, it enters into the left ventricle, and then it is applied to the body parts. Fine. So it is a four-chambered heart, and it's a double circulation, double loop. Only the right aortic arch is present. The hepatic portal system is well developed in birds. Excretory system. Excretory organs are kidneys. Urinary bladder is absent. Ureter opens into a cloaca. As I showed you, it is a three-chambered cloaca. Excretory waste is semi-solid uric acid. Therefore, they are uricotelic. So, uricotelic means to secrete or excrete uric acid. Right? So, these are uricotelic. They excrete uric acid. Then, eye. In the eye, comb-like structure, you can see here, it's a comb-like structure which is present in the eye. So it is a comb-like structure which is present in the eye. It is known as the pectin. So pectin is present. It provides nutrition to the eyeballs. It is found in all birds except kiwi. Pectin helps in acute vision and telescopic vision, as the bird has to fly and therefore it has to have a telescopic vision. Pectin controls the pressure of the liquid in the eye. Therefore, plays an important role. External ears are present, but ear pinnae absent. So, external ears are present in the birds, while we see that in reptiles. We see that the external ears were, so they do not, in the reptiles, they do not have any external ear openings. While in birds, they have an external ear. However, ear pinnae is absent. Columnar bone, which is the stapes, one ossicle is found in the middle ear, and uncoiled cochlea in the internal ear is present. Right? So there is a difference in the ear development of the auditory system also with the different classes. So then the nervous system, the brain is large, smooth, and highly developed. Cerebellum is well developed for aerial mode of life, and cranial nerves are 12 pairs in number, just like reptiles. Reproduction. So birds are unisexual, that is, male and male and male are different. That is, they are dioecious. Fine. Sexual dimorphism is present. That is, male looks different than female. Copulatory organ is usually absent in males. Birds are monodelphic. That is, only left ovary and left oviduct are functional. Why it is so? This is also an adaptation to flight, as it helps in lowering the body weight. Right? Fertilization is internal. They are egg-laying, that is, they are oviparous. Eggs are large. They are megalacical. Megalacical means, as I already mentioned, large amount of yolk, and cleoidic means which is covered. So it is covered with the calcium carbonate. This calcareous shell is perforated. So this helps in prevention. Fine. So embryonic development is direct. What do we mean by this? No larval stage is present. Right? Birds form the nest. Parental behavior is highly observed. Parental caring is observed. They form nest in which they lay eggs, and parental caring is highly observed. So there are certain examples, like for example, corvus, which is crow. So corvus, crow, columba, pigeon, Stiticula, parrot, Struthio, ostrich, pavo, peacock, aptenodytes, penguin, and neophron, vulture. So you have to remember these examples. You will just read these examples thrice or 5 times at least. So these will automatically get set into your mind. So for example, corvus crow, columba pigeon, Stiticula parrot, Struthio ostrich, pavo peacock, aptenodytes penguin, and neophron vulture. So these are the examples of the class aves. Then the last class of the phylum Chordata is the class Mammalia, superphylum superclass Tetrapoda, right? Class Mammalia. The mammals includes the largest animal ever to live. For example, the blue whale, which is 130 metric tons. The smallest mammal, which is the kitty's pet, 1.5 gram. And it has the fastest land animal, the cheetah, that runs around 110 km per hour. So the characteristics of mammal, like it includes the largest animal to the smallest animal, it includes the fastest land animal, etc. Now there are certain distinguishable characters of the mammals. For example, one of the very important characters is the hair. And the second most important character is the milk producing mammary glands. So class mammals, very important character is the presence of hair. The second is the presence of the mammary gland. So these are the specific characters of the mammals. Specific characters of the mammals. Right? Hair provides the insulation against the heat loss, and being endothermic, that is able to regulate the body temperature. So they are able to regulate their body temperature. Right? So they are being endothermic, allows the mammals to be active even in the cold weather. Hair color can camouflage a mammal and help the animal to blend into its surroundings, therefore helping in protection also from the enemies. In addition, hair can be ornamental and can serve sensory functions. Right? So they may be ornamental also, and they can serve sensory functions. So there are various functions of hair which are present on the mammal. Then the very important feature, as I mentioned, is the mammary glands. So these glands enable the females to feed their young ones without leaving them to find the food. So mammary glands are actually helping in the acting in the nursing. So nursing also creates a bond between the mother and the offspring that helps ensure parental care. So therefore, parental care is highly seen or observed in the mammals when the young ones are helpless. Therefore, nursing may help. That is, it may help in feeding the young ones without leaving them to find the food. Also, it provides the antibodies. So this is very important. That is why it is usually, like even in case of humans, it is usually recommended to breastfeed the child up to at least 6 months, because it not only provides the nutrition, but it also provides the essential antibodies to the young from the mother through the milk. So this is very important, nurturing or nursing with the help of the mammary glands. It helps in creating a bond between the mother and the offspring, and therefore ensure the parental care. The next is the skeleton. So the mammalian skull accommodates a larger brain relative to the body size than does the reptilian skull. Also, mammalian cheek teeth are differentiated as premolars and molars. The vertebrae of mammals are highly differentiated. Typically, the middle region of the vertebral column is arched, and the limbs are under the body. So these are some of the characteristics of the vertebrates specifically. Now, as we said that external ears of pinnae are absent in the earlier classes, the external ear of pinnae are present here. They are homeothermous, that is, they can regulate their body temperature. Their body temperature is constant. Their body temperature is constant. For example, in humans, it is around 37 degrees centigrades for humans, right? So their body temperature is constant. They have an efficient respiratory and circulatory system that ensures a rapid oxygen supply to muscles whose contraction produces the body heat. Like birds, mammals have a double loop circulatory pathway and a four-chambered heart. So just like birds, they have right atrium. Then we have right ventricle. From here, it goes to the lungs. From the lungs, it again enters into the left atrium, then to the left ventricle. And this left ventricle supplies the blood to the body organs. Oxygenated blood is supplied. Deoxygenated blood is sent to the lungs for the oxygenation. The kidneys are adapted for conserving the water in the terrestrial animals. Kidneys are adapted for conserving the water in terrestrial mammals. Nervous system is highly developed. Special senses in mammals are well developed, and mammals exhibit complex behavior. Development is internal. So this is very important that the development is internal. In most mammals, the young ones are born, so mostly they are viviparous, those that give birth to the young ones. After a period of development in the uterus, which is a part of the female reproductive system, internal development actually shelters the young and allows the female to move actively while the young matures. So, therefore, creating less hindrance and also providing the protection to the young ones inside the body of the female. Examples, for example, if we will see, so there are certain examples of mammals. So the one is oviparous, which is the ornithorhynchus. So platypus is the one that is the egg-laying mammal. This may be asked, but this is an exception. Usually the mammals are viviparous. So egg-laying mammal is the ornithorhynchus, which is the platypus. Viviparous includes macropus, which is the kangaroo, pteropus, which is the flying fox, camelus, camel, macaca, monkey. For kangaroo, I would like to mention that they have pouches, right? So they have pouches in which they keep their young ones, right? So they have keep their young ones. So macropus, which is the kangaroo. Then we have pteropus, flying fox. Then we have camelus, camel, macaca, which is the monkey, ratus, rat. Then we have canis, which is dog, felis, which is the cat. Then we have elephus, elephant, equus, horse. Then we have delphinus, which is a common dolphin. So dolphins are considered to be as one of the very intelligent animals. So they are considered to be very intelligent. Also, they live in water. They can live in water and can come out of that also. But then blue whale, which is the that weighs a lot, as I mentioned, and Panthera tigris, which is tiger, and Panthera leo. Humans also come under the class Mammalia, which is the homos, like we are Homo sapiens. So Homo sapiens are also mammals, and so with this, these are certain examples of the viviparous mammals. That is, they give rise to the young ones. Now, with this, we can end like our discussion on the animal kingdom, and there were certain differences that we see in all the three classes that are terrestrial, like for example in reptilia, in aves, and in mammals. So usually in reptilia, in most of the reptiles, it is the three-chambered heart, while in aves it is the four-chambered heart. In mammals also it is four-chambered heart. Reptiles are usually oviparous. Aves are also oviparous, while mammals are mostly viviparous, right? So they have specifically hair and mammary glands, which is absent in all the other classes. They have feathers, which are the modified epidermal scales. They have scales all over their body that prevents them, and they have dry skin that prevents them, like tough skin that prevents them from drying. Fine. So these are certain. These are the three different classes. And in amphibia also, so there was one more class, amphibia. Fine. We learn about amphibia. So it can. So these three are terrestrial: reptilia, aves, and mammals. All three are terrestrial. That is, they are land animals. It can live on land as well as on in water. In amphibians, it was mainly. So in amphibians, it is mainly three-chambered heart. They are also mostly oviparous. Fertilization is usually indirect. That is, the larval stage was present. And in these, it is also, so as I mentioned, it is oviparous and larval stages present. So the fertilization is indirect. These are certain examples, like these are certain characteristic features of each of these classes. And with this, we can end with the chapter Animal Kingdom. Also, one of the important features is that the mammals are homeothermic, that is, they can endothermic. They are also endothermic, that is, they can maintain their body temperature. So, aves and mammals both can maintain their body temperature. They are homeothermic, while these are poikilothermic. That is, they are not able to maintain their body temperature. So these are certain differences. So you need to remember these differences. You need to remember their examples. And if there are any exception to those examples, for example, ornithorhynchus, which is an oviparous mammal, that is an egg-laying mammal. Most of the mammals are viviparous. That is, they give rise to the young ones. So this is an example that might be asked. So platypus or ornithorhynchus, you need to remember both scientific as well as common name, because the options may contain either the scientific name or the common name. So therefore, it is very important to remember both. And with this, we can end with the chapter Animal Kingdom. So thank you for attending. It was a long chapter, but if you will keep on revising it timely, you will definitely remember all the points and try to link with the previous phylum, that how during the process of considering it as a process of evolution, that how during the evolution various organisms might have evolved from their previous ones. So how the characteristics getting developed, how the organ system is getting developed from the earlier phyla, like in sponges where only there was a cellular system, then we had tissue level of organization, then we have organ and organ system level of organization. So what are the particular characteristics of a particular phyla? For example, we know about the arthropods that have jointed legs. We know about the annelids that have metameric segmentation. We know about mammals that have hair and mammary glands, etc. So these are some of the important features. Like for example, in Echinodermata, we see they have a well-developed water vascular system. So they have a different kind of water vascular system that helps in circulating the water and food throughout the body. And also in Echinodermata, we studied there is a difference in the symmetry. Adults have different symmetry, while the young ones have the different symmetry. So adults have the radial, while the larval stage has the bilateral symmetry in them. and what are the different larvae which are known. For example, for salamander it is the axolotl larva, etc. For tadpole it is for frogs it is tadpole, which is the larva. So you need to remember these distinguishing points. Otherwise, for the basic one, you can remember this chart that will help you in understanding the different characteristics, and also like the that will help you in understanding the different characteristics and will provide you an overview of a particular phylum. So with this I would like to end this session, and hope that this will help you.